Hey everyone, this is Tom with VermiBag Tutorials. Today I kind of want to show you how I do my final separation of worms from my castings. These are the casting trays that I've collected throughout the winter and stuff. I think I have a total of about 10 of these. Now I've taken a bunch of them out already and emptied them in my garden, making a raised bed area and stuff. But I still have 5 or 6 of them here left that I kind of want to separate just a few more worms, because these have been sitting here now for, geez, I mean the oldest one's probably been here for 5 months, 4.5 months. Now I had little bait trays, I've shown you little bait trays in each of these, and the worms do go into them, but my problem is since they were stacked up so high and stuff, it was kind of a pain to get at the little trays. So I didn't get in there very diligently, so when I went in here a while back and pulled the trays to look at them, they were basically finished castings, and the worms had gone out throughout the casting some more and gone away from the bait trays because I hadn't been refilling it with food. So, but I do want to get these into the garden now, and there's a fair amount of worms in here that have hatched over the last 5 months. So some of these have actually quite a few worms in them. So what I'm going to do now is do one final step. I'm going to take these and dump them into some Lowe's mortar trays, and then put in a single bait trap for them in each one of the trays with some really good scraps, chopped up vegetables and stuff, and some bedding, and then diligently watch it and make sure over the next week or so as they move into it, I'll pull the worms out. Then I'll take the castings out and put them out into the yard. So I'll set this up and I'll show you how I do it. It's pretty simple. So what I'm basically going to do is I'm just going to take each one of those trays, dump it into this mortar tray. I'll take the bait tray out of there and dump it into this separate container here, because there'll be definitely more concentration of worms in those little things, so I'll get a few of them. But overall, there's a lot of worms throughout the castings and stuff. I've already done one, but so I'm going to grab this next one here and just show you how the process is done. So here's one of the trays. Now this thing is really, really heavy. I mean, you can't get a sense of it, but I mean, it's only 1.5 inches, 2 inches thick, but it's completely full of castings. It is so solid. I mean, this thing has to weigh about 30 pounds. So here's you can look at if you look at the sheet of newspaper that's on the top of this, you can see all the castings on top of it and how they kind of work through the newspaper. So you can tell there's quite a few worms in this thing. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the bait tray out, and I'm going to dump that into the little bucket here. Then I'm going to take the rest of the mortar tray, and I'm just going to take it and dump it into this Lowe's mortar tray. I got a little piece of plastic, got a little light switch thing that I'm going to scrape everything in here. Okay, I'll take you in close and we'll see how many worms, just see how many are in there. Not an awful lot. Actually, this area I'm kind of surprised. I see a few here and there, but it's hard to describe how nice this feels. I mean, it's really soft. It's well worked over compost. I mean, these chunks of paper, just because I put them on the top of I'll probably pull them out actually and put them in with this other stuff and throw it in one of the bins, because the whole idea is I don't want to give them too much food in here. I want them to really come to these bait trays when I put them in. So anything extra, anything that looks like food here, I'm going to go ahead and take out. I think I'll put one more tray in this, and that'll pretty well fill this Lowe's tray up pretty well, the mortar tray. So, fact of the matter, I actually don't think I will put another one in. I think I'll go ahead and set it up and let me back up or zoom out here a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and leave this one the way it is because I only have 1 inch or 2. And I'm going to go ahead and put 2 of these other trays and put them in this other mortar tray. So I'll back up here so you can see what I'm doing, and we'll put 2 of them in here and get it ready. Go ahead and scrape this out. Get it all into this Lowe's mortar tray. Now the nice thing is, I'm not waiting for cocoons to hatch now. I mean, so I don't have to leave this thing for 3 weeks or 4 weeks. I mean, I just need to leave it long enough to get a bunch of those worms to migrate over there because they're hungry. There's definitely not a lot of food in these trays for these worms. I mean, this stuff is so worked over that. So now what I'm going to do, let me get them ready here. Okay. Actually, I'm going to make some new bait trays for this thing. I'm just going to use a couple bigger ones. These are just little plastic ones you can get at the store from, I don't know if Rubbermaid makes these or whatever, but they're pretty good size, they're pretty deep, so they'll actually sit down completely down into the bottom of these mortar trays. So I just do it with a iron. I basically have a soldering iron here and stuff that's good and hot. And again, I told you before, I'm not going to put any on the bottom. I really want those worms to come in there and not be going in and out and sitting underneath this, eating the juices and stuff as they flow through. So I'm just going to put a whole bunch of holes along the side of it. The soldering iron works really well. Just get away from the smell. I mean, this thing, you don't want to get in front of that toxic smoke that's coming off of there, that's for sure. So that's what they look like when they get done. So, I mean, there's quite a few holes all along the side. And I don't have any on the bottom. I have a couple down pretty low on this one. The same thing on this other one. And you can use anything you want. I actually think these will actually work better than those little plastic starter, seedling starter trays that I got from the nursery. These are pretty durable and there's no reason we can't just continuously reuse them. So let me go get the food scraps. We'll put some in here and some bedding and get these things set. Put some newspapers over the top. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and put a little bit of bedding right in the bottom of this. And again, if you haven't seen my videos on how I make the bedding, I'll try and put a link here in the bottom of the video to show you how to make this bedding. It's really good bedding. Then I'm going to take some, this is just a mixture, all kinds of different vegetables. There's strawberries in here, broccoli, some apples. It's been in the freezer for a while, so I'm going to take a good chunk of this and put that in the bin, or in this little bait trap. Mix it around, then I'm going to go ahead and cover it up with some more bedding. And I think just to entice them tiny little bit more, I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of worm chow. This is just made from birdseed. I have a video on that too. It's real simple to make, and the worms absolutely love it. So there. So that thing's completely full. The worms can, whoops, get down here, you guys can see. The worms can go in from all sides and stuff, and not a single one in there now. Let's go ahead and place this right in the middle. Dig it down for its basically almost down to the bottom, because I want this thing all the way down, so about like that. And I'm going to go ahead and slope the soil around it, for they can come in over the top too. About like that. And then this is the newspaper that came out of all the different trays when I did them, so I'm going to use this to go ahead and place over the top of this. I'm going to put one right over that, and then just place this. That'll keep this nice and moist for a week or so until I come take a peek at it. So that's it. I'm going to do the same exact thing on the other side. I won't bore you through the whole thing, but basically I'm going to put a couple scoops of that in. I'm going to put all of this in there. I'm going to go ahead and mix it up just a little bit there. Worms are going to love this. I mean, they're going to be going in this like crazy. Nice thing, it's nice and contained. I mean, basically, you can almost just pull this thing out and you're going to have a big chunk of your worms that were in this, in these castings. Get them out. And then when I throw it out, there are going to be still be a few worms in it, but hey, they'll do their work out in the garden and they'll survive at least for a while out there. So that's it. I'm just going to go ahead and put this one in the other, and I'll actually come back in about a week and I'll finish this video up and we'll take a look and just see how many worms are inside these containers. Okay, it's been a week since I put these bait trays into these mortar trays with my castings in it. So let's pull these off and see how many worms came into the bait traps and see how well they worked. I did, check on them in the middle of the week, and I definitely know there's a lot of worms in there now. So I'll zoom in a little bit here and kind of take a look, and then I'll just pull this out. I'm just going to place it in this tub. I'll place this one and the other one in a tub, and then we'll spread them out once in there too and just see how many worms are in there. But you can see there's definitely some worms in here. Now, I did put a lot of food in here. I mean, this was pretty... It's loaded with worms, definitely. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that out, one fell swoop, and I'm just sticking it in, pull out a little bit here. I'm just going to stick them both into a tray like this. Now around here, inside here, I see there's one worm. I think it worked pretty good. There's no worms at the bottom. If anybody, well, there's one, but anybody watched the other video when I had the holes on the bottom of these, I think it works much better just putting them on the side. Here, don't put it in the bottom. That way you don't have all this liquid leaking out and then the worms don't hang out underneath this thing. So basically, by having it on the sides only, they go in there and they basically stay in there. So there's a few worms on this outer edge, but not really very many at all. So I'm going to go ahead and... This is the other tray. Go ahead and pull the topping off of that, and I can see the worms darting back into the ground now, back into the compost. Yeah, I'm just going to pull this on out this time for not waste of time. I see one, I see a couple along the sides here, but not very many. I mean, there's a couple. I can see them stuck on the sides of the tray here and stuff as they're going in and out of the hole. So I'm going to go ahead and put that over in there. I'm going to go ahead and set the two of these up here in front of it and dump them out. We'll take a look and see how many worms are exactly inside these bait traps. Okay, let's dump these out and see how many worms we got in here. I think there are a lot of worms in here. So, and actually, all that food I put in here, surprisingly, it's pretty well broken down. I mean, there's a couple big chunks here, but for the most part, they've actually composted all the material that's in here pretty doggone well. So, let me scoot them over, and we'll dump the other one in here. See if it looks the same. Yeah. A lot of worms. They definitely migrated into these bait trays really, really well. And this one's kind of the same. I mean, it's real moist. I mean, I definitely had a lot of moisture in here. And they're attracted to moisture because the rest of the compost is pretty finished, and I let it get, I mean, a little bit dry. I mean, it's still moist, but this here is really moist. There's a lot of food in here, and they went into it really, really well. So I'm going to take the rest of this compost. It's going out in the garden today, and all these worms here are going to go back into one of my bins. So if you want a very effective method of pulling worms out of almost finished compost, I think these bait trays do a really, really good job. I think the number of worms that are in here kind of speaks for itself. And this is just over a period of 1 week. All these worms came in 1 week. And I think part of it is the fact that there's no food in these bins. I mean, it's finished castings for the most part, so when you turn around and stick a tray in there with some food in it, man, they really go over to it. I mean, it doesn't take them very long at all. So I think it's a really good, simple, and effective way of getting that last little bit of worms out of your finished compost before you take it out in your yard or sell it or whatever you're going to do with it. So this is Tom from VermiBag. Till next time, ciao.